All right, we ready? I'm going to call this meeting to order. First order of business, Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first order is to approve the minutes from our regular session meeting of January the 19th. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second, vote?
Yes.
Yes. Got a couple of speakers. Chief Sandito, you're up. Actually, you know what? I'm going to hold. I'm going to go Franklin County. Franklin County, and we'll get you.
I don't want to step on any toes.
No, I'm juggling a lot tonight, so.
I'm really here, intermittently, so I don't really have a whole lot. I mean, obviously you have chief, so just my unit, the guys in my unit, there's 3 other guys in my unit. We created, our sergeant wants to put some stuff out after the incident on I-95 in Virginia. Some information just to pass along, so I pass on what the pamphlets we created. It's just some stuff, some winter preparedness, emergency stuff, having a gas can in your car, having your car checked, at a auto parts place for headlights and battery tests and things like that. Just being prepared. So that's kind of our big push right now. I know in some northern townships, and I'll defer to you on this, chief, we're still seeing a lot of catalytic converter thefts in some of the townships south of here. So that's just some of the things that we're seeing that are still kind of high for us. But for the most part, our call volume right now, and I'm sure that's this winter time, it's a little slower than it is, other times of the year. So, do you guys have anything for me? Is there any information you need me to?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I appreciate this, though. We'll get it
Yeah.
posted tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. You guys need me to stick around? I'm sorry, I got a kid. In
Nope, that's the reason why we got you first.
I
I remember the last time. We're getting you first.
I appreciate it. So,
Bye,
thank you
take
so
care.
much. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
You're up.
Yeah. Thank you. And thank you for having me. It's been a strange 2 years since I became the chief. It's almost 2 years now since Chief Balo moved on back home. So I'm very happy to be able to be here in front of you guys and actually talk to you all in person. I want to go over a few things here, kind of give you an update of where we are. And actually, I want to talk a little bit about where we came from. Next slide, please. The division of fire. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Mark Zambito. I'm the fire chief. I have been with the division since 2000. I had a little hiatus there where I went and worked at Upper Arlington, but it was only for a few months, 20 months total. And I was invited back to be the assistant chief about 4 years ago. And then 2 years ago, before the pandemic, like literally right before the pandemic, I was appointed fire chief. It's been a dream job. I'm very proud to be in this role. This is home to me. So I'm going to get into the history of the division. I'm not sure if you guys have ever heard this before, but I want to understand where we came from and a little bit of history of the folks that protect you guys. Back in 1836 was the very first organized fire protection in the village of Worthington, and they literally handed out a bucket to every man and boy over the age of 16. That was their first organized fire department. And in 1931, Sharon Township organized their own fire department because they had expanding farms further out from the village and needed fire protection. And at that point is when the township, they chose to just merge the village fire protection, the fire department with the Sharon Township. It became one organization. What's really cool is to think about how we're still the same evolving group of people that started it in 1836, which is really cool if you're part of that. In the 1950s, they started the first aid squad, which was a big evolution in our industry because it went from responding to fires to now responding to also injured and ill people. Because before that, it was basically called a doctor and he showed up with his little kit, and that was the extent of it. In 1972, Sharon Township sent the first ever, some of the first ever paramedics in Central Ohio to paramedic school. And that school back then was only about 60 hours, where now it's 14 to 16 months. So you can imagine what they've added to it. When I went, it was 8 months. I'm not trying to date myself, but it has since almost doubled in the time that you go to school now. And in 1994 is when the city took over fire protection for the residents of Worthington, Sharon Township, and also the village of Riverlea. And in 1999 is when we proudly took on your fire EMS protection. So some of our run stats, just to show you some of the increase in volume that we're handling. In 2000, we went from just under 3,700 runs a year to just under 4,700 runs this past year. Now, this past year is kind of unique because of the fact that the end of the year was extremely busy. And it was because we took a lot of sick people to the hospital with the Delta and then Omicron variants of COVID-19. We saw a lot of people who were with difficulty breathing, and it just made our run numbers rocket. Your run numbers for 2021 for the entire township was 219, and those varied from fire, EMS, auto accidents, you name it. Our operating budget is $7.2 million, and that's the operating, does not include capital. And that's where our payroll is about 90% of that, payroll, and then the benefits that go with human resources. And then from that, we also have training money, and then also other things such as equipment, small equipment that is. And some of our capital items that we're going to be replacing over the next 2 or 3 years is Medic 103 will be replaced. We're in the process of getting that finalizing the design right now and replacing that truck. That truck's is a 2013 and has 160,000 miles on it. And the ladder 101 is going to be replaced here in the near future. I think next year is when it's scheduled in our CIP. That will be replaced in an 11 or 12-year-old truck by that time. What we learned too is that the build time for these trucks went from being 9 months to being 24 months with supply chains and worker shortages and everything you can think of that's going on right now in our world. Bunk room innovations, our bunk rooms have not been touched since the building was built in 1992. Engine 102 is going to be replaced here in the next couple of years. That is a 06 truck with over 120,000 miles. And then first floor restroom renovations, just so you know some of the capital items that we're working on. So the way our division is divided is you have myself, the fire chief, and then we have, this is new, 2 assistant chiefs. We used to have 1, and we're in the process of hiring a second one, which is a newly created position, which I'll talk about here in a few minutes. The part-time medical director, that's Dr. Doug Run from OSU. We have 3 battalion chiefs, 1 for each of our 3 shifts, 7 lieutenants, 6 of those are assigned to shifts, 2 of them to each shift, and then 1 is assigned to fire prevention. I think you all have met Lieutenant Brad Dunn on occasion. We have 24 firefighter paramedics, 1 civilian administrative assistant, and then depending on our staffing levels, 8 to 16 part-time firefighters. So we have 3 shifts, 24 hours each on, and then 48 hours off. It equals to be 53 hours per week is what our folks work. We have a 10-person minimum to keep our trucks staffed for responding to emergencies. And that includes 1 battalion chief, the 2 lieutenants, the 8 firefighters, and then 2 to 4 part-time people per shift. So a typical day for us, and I just want to be careful saying because I have written there's no typical days, is roll call starts at 7:30. That's when our shift gets together and they talk about what happened the night before, give them an update since they've been off, and then they go over the assignments for that 24-hour shift. This is the battalion chief who's organizing roll call. And then we do truck checks for about an hour and a half. That's to make sure that all of our equipment is there and our trucks are fueled up and ready to go. House duties, taking care of the firehouse is very important. We live there, so it take about an hour a day to make sure that the bathrooms are cleaned and the trash is out and the building is taken care of. And then administrative duties last about an hour before, or hour or 2 before lunch, and that includes reports and organizing the training records, and then the prep for lunch. One of the crews does that same time that administrative tasks are being accomplished. And then lunch is one of the best. Lunch and dinner are the 2 best times in the firehouse because you get a chance. That's when everybody usually is at the table together. Once, I should say usually, you hope that they're at the table together because we're so busy. But it gives you a chance, just like you would at home, to learn what you've been busy with at school or sports or whatever. That's where you truly bond with each other. Then in the afternoon, we do training, maintenance duties, usually about 3 hours worth, and physical training, PT, before dinner, and then dinner prep, dinner. And then we have our evening house duties, which include cleaning the kitchen and making sure the final trash is out. And then downtime and self-studies, the last 12 hours of the shift. But this is all while taking an average of 13 emergency calls per day. So imagine trying to do all this and having to stop what you're doing and then jumping in trucks and taking somebody to the hospital and coming back and starting back where you were. Your day flies by on some of these busy days. Yes, sir.
On that list, I don't see recliner.
You know, well, the recliner is
That's
actually 7:30 to 7:30. Yeah. Come on over, man. I tell you.
It's
Everybody's so
comfy.
tired by the time you-
Chief, you want to make the donut joke or anything?
Notice their power rings and just recharge
The
it.
power rate.
So, just so you guys know, one of the questions we always get is, why is there a fire engine when I'm called for a heart attack? And I'm gonna explain a little bit of that right now. So our basic response assignments are for basic life support. So say if you fall, twist your ankle, or possibly break your wrist, you'll get one basic, it's a basic life support, you get one medic. And a medic consists of at least 2 paramedics and an EMT. And then advanced life support is when you get that engine showing up. So just understand that everybody except for right now 2 of our full-time employees, every single person is a paramedic. So we're all paramedics, including myself. And when we send an engine with the medic, it's usually a type of call that is more labor intensive, that people are doing lots of things to treat that patient and get a package to get to the hospital. So then advanced life support and responsive, that's when somebody is unresponsive and you add a battalion with that, because the battalion then can collect information and freeing up another person's hands from the family or whoever the bystanders are that are there. And then auto accidents, surface roads, and engine, a medic, and a battalion. Those are typically the ones that you'll see, I'll say on High Street or here on Sawmill. Usually less violent, they're usually less amount of injuries, but they still need a response and they still will have injuries out of those. Freeway auto accidents, 2 medics, an engine rescue, a ladder, and a battalion. Those are typically extremely destructive accidents. Cars, I mean, you can imagine it, cars going 75 miles an hour, what they'll do when they dance. And that's why that extra personnel is there. But the ladder truck is there for the person to get the firefighters off the ladder truck, but also to use that truck as a blocking vehicle on the freeway, because we've learned through studying, not just we as in me, our industry's learned that you want to protect the scene, because that's when you have a secondary accident and people tend to get killed. No secondary accidents, first responders especially. So we try to protect the scene with that large piece of equipment that's very much lit up, plus use that staffing off of that. So a structured fire for a residential property gets 3 engines, 2 ladders, 1 rescue, 1 medic, and 2 battalions. And that is all to get the fire out as fast as possible and get the people who are in that structure out as fast as possible. And then high hazard, which would be a school or a nursing home, we add an extra engine and an extra medic to those assignments to get more people there quicker. Because the faster the fire goes out, the faster the problem goes away. So what we currently have as our vehicles that are the primary response vehicles that I just talked about, we have 2 medics. Those are advanced life support EMS transport vehicles. We call that Medic 101 and Medic 102. We have an engine rescue. The engine rescue carries the tools for auto accidents, but it's also it's a pumper, so it has water hose on it. That's the primary truck that puts the fires out. And then we have a ladder company that we actually cross-staff one of those ALS, those advanced life support medics. And we staff that ladder company for fire runs with 3 of those firefighters. And the ladder truck comes with, of course, the ladder, but it also has water hose, but it has a large assortment of ladders, 216 feet of them. And it has fans, saws, and salvage covers. Once rescue operations are over in a fire, the ladder truck will do one of 2 things. One is we'll do what's called salvage, and it's protecting the equipment, or protecting the property that has not been damaged by the fire, and then overhaul Overhaul is a task where we dig out the fire that might be behind the wall. We'll find the fire a lot of times behind walls, and that's one of their main tasks of the ladder company, because they have the hooks and the saws to get through those walls. Specialty equipment that we have our hazmat. The hazmat truck was purchased off of Grant in the middle of 2000s. It is part of NASTY, which is a large Northwest Area Strike Team, which is a large group of fire departments who've gotten together to pull our resources together, so we're not all spending all the money and duplicating services. It's us, Washington, Westerville, Norwich, Marysville, Jerome, and Jackson Townships in Upper Arlington, who are part of NASTY. I may have missed somebody, and I apologize to them if I did. And then we also have a boat. We have the Olentangy River that we need to respond to. Plus, we also have ponds, which you guys have several ponds in Perry. And then we have a reserve EMS vehicle. That's Medic 103. That's the one that's being replaced here, hopefully in the next 12 months. And then we have a reserve engine rescue. Like I mentioned, the Northwest Area Strike Team, it's a great way to pull those resources together. But one thing also that the Northwest Area Strike Team is involved with is fire investigations. In a department the size of ours, we don't get very many fires, which is a great thing. But we don't put a negative to that. If it is a negative, is we don't have the experience investigating fires. So what we do is we pull together with those same departments, and we help each other investigate fires. So when there is one in our jurisdiction, we have the experience and also their help making those decisions. We're also part of the Central Ohio Strike Team, which is the local urban search and rescue. It's based out of Station 30. I think Station 30 in Columbus is where they store the trucks, but it's all the fire departments in Central Ohio have members on that team. And then we have 2 members on Task Force 1, which is a FEMA-based group. And one of those 2 members is a dog handler. And Chris is really proud of Chris Courtney. Firefighter Chris Courtney, this is his 2nd dog now. He's been on several deployments to hurricanes, so we're pretty proud of that. So some of our exciting projects for 2022 is hiring for this newly created position for Assistant Chief of EMS and Community Risk Reduction. And studying some of our needs over the past 2 years, we learned that we have a fire lieutenant. One of our lieutenants is currently our EMS coordinator, who's assigned to one of our fire trucks. And we found it was very difficult for him to get his tasks accomplished in organizing all of our EMS programs. But part of that, though, is we also learned that there's a whole other need for community risk reduction, which the community risk reduction is things such as the smoke alarm program, first aid instruction, large CPR programs, fall prevention. Something we want to start with this position is visiting our high utilizers. So people that call 911 quite often, we're going to go visit them and see if there's things we can do to prevent them from needing to call 911. So we're really excited about this position. But one of the main things, though, is I want this person, he or she is going to be a mentor for all of our paramedics, top to bottom. We need somebody with the Yoda type personality to bring people to where they need to be. And I'm really excited to see what comes from that. Like I said, replacement of Medic 103, really getting aggressive with our community risk reduction and the fall prevention is the main one with that. When I mentioned that I really want to get a hold of, because if you tackle falls, if we go through our run reports and find our falls, we will find that those people who call 911 for falls also call 911 for many other reasons, whether it's a report of a fire, heart attack, smoke detector beeping, whatever it may be. So if we get aggressive with those folks, I have seen through my experience that we can, I guess, nip it in the bud. We can also improve their quality of life if we're able to get them the resources that they need to live at home instead of directing them into a nursing facility or long-term care. And then CPR AED. We had a cardiac arrest at our rec center this past summer, and somebody brought it up that actually was a 911 dispatcher, said he's a former firefighter. He said he had never been on a cardiac arrest where the person survived or bystander CPR was not being administered. And I started thinking to myself, I haven't either. And it's amazing the fact that how that quickly getting on somebody's chest changes that outcome. And we are going to get aggressive because of that. Once we we've always done CPR and AED, but that particular situation has really lit the fire and threw some fuel on it. So we're pretty excited about getting that started once this person gets in place. And then the smoke detector blitz we have scheduled for Wellington Hills on May 7th. So we're pretty excited about that as well. And the last thing is I just want to let you guys know that our transition to NREC has gone smoothly. We've been there now about a year and a half. I had a meeting with them today, and it's as if we've always been with them. I'm hoping that your residents are seeing that as well when they call 911 for a medical event. So that's all that I have for you folks today. I just wanted to come here and be able to introduce myself officially in person, but also be here for any questions in case you guys may have them.
So Chief, first of all, thank you for, I know you've been talking with Beth about the smoke detector program. Appreciate you bringing that back, and as well as the CPR training. I think that's very, very important. And I know I never thanked you. I mean, it's taken kind of a village for us to do the things that we wanted to do as far as development. I don't know that I ever thanked you properly for your guidance that you gave the board in regards to ensuring that we got the appropriate fire and EMS protection from Upper Arlington. Your experience with UA was invaluable to kind of guide us so that we kind of got those things in place. It was kind of a crazy time and us we're getting residents, but we don't have fire and EMS protection. And you guys stepped in, so we appreciate the city of Worthington's willingness to do that for a short period of time until we got things kind of settled around with UA. So, but thank you, I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, really. It was great to work with.
We are very proud of serving you guys.
I know the staff here, Steve and I, we've been meeting with Mark pretty routinely now, which is great. I think that we're getting a lot of shared ideas and feedback of how we can do things better. I know our police officers are going to be riding with the fire, kind of get to know each other, but also to kind of understand their roles individually when they get on site. So it's been a good relationship and excited to have it continue. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
Anything else for the chief? Oh, thank you. Appreciate
Thanks
it.
so much.
We're gonna kind of change some things up. I'm going to ask that we go into executive session. I know Mike of us is going to be here at between 7 and 7:10.
Okay.
So if we can go into executive session, you want to make that motion?
I so moved.
Okay. Well, let me. You want to read it, or you want me to?
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I move to enter into executive session pursuant to Section 121.22, subsection G, subsection 8 of the Ohio Revised Code for the purpose of considering confidential information related to negotiations with other political subdivisions, accepting requests for economic development assistance, and such information is directly related to a request for economic development assistance that is not provided or administered under sections 5709.73 to 5709.75 of the ORC. The executive session is necessary to protect the possible investment of public funds to be made in connection with the economic development project. That was my roll call.
Mr. English?
Yes.
Mr. Cheney?
Yes.
Mr. Roper?
Yes.
Thank you.